Hello there. Welcome back to this new stream. I see there are some people already here. Please let me know if you can hear me well enough. That would be great. And of course, as usual, please just take a few seconds and just say hi and let me know where are you watching from. That would be totally appreciated. And as usual, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, and within 1 minute you would be able to actually also post a comment. And as we always do during the live streams, I like to really get in touch with you, so that's why I do these live streams. So don't be shy, get involved, ask questions. As also the title suggests, you can really ask me anything, and we can have discussions on whatever topics might be of interest for you. As said, main goal is to kind of get in touch with you and understand you better, know you better. Okay. Hello, Gvidas from Lithuania. Thank you very much for joining. And Daniel. Daniel is already a regular and a Code Wrinkles member. Very active member, actually, also. So thank you very much, Daniel. And I know it's very early in Australia, so really appreciate you joining here. Cool. And Gvidas, I think you're for the first time here. Am I correct? Cool. Yeah. So I guess in the meantime, mostly everybody got back to work. So I assume that Zufar, hello from Uzbekistan. Hello. Thank you very much for joining. We have a lot of countries here, and from Norway. Marius, thank you very much for joining from Norway. It's kind of cool. Do we have anybody from US, Canada, or South America? Vidas, maybe the third time. Okay. Well, my memory is not good enough. It shows my age probably, so sorry for that. Cool. Now, let's see where we actually left off last time. So let's run the application first of all. And yeah, see exactly what actually we have here. And as always, for those of you who are totally new here, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell because there are a lot of things happening on this Code Wrinkles channel. For instance, a new video will come tomorrow morning. It's already created, uploaded, prepared. It's just waiting to be published. And it's on domain-driven design once again in the series. It's a closer look at aggregates. Okay, the application started on the other screen. So what we have actually implemented last time out is we have basically switched the entire Blazor template scenario or layout with our own layout, and we were using Mud Blazor for Blazor components. So we have created here our navigation bar where we have the name of the application. It's a very nice logo. That's basically a symbol that it's available also in Mud Blazor. They have chess pieces, so that's actually quite cool. Here there will be different menus. Like for now we just have play, and here we have this create game, but for now it doesn't really do anything. At a certain point probably it will. And then we have implemented also this user information. Once again, for the profile, when you click it doesn't really happen anything, but at a certain point it will kind of lead you to your profile page where you will be able probably to see some stats, some things about yourself. But yeah, for now we actually just have implemented this, and the chessboard, that's basically what we have from the first stream. That's the first thing that we have implemented. For those of you who are newer to this stream, it's based on actually two JavaScript libraries. One is chess.js that contains the chess rules and let's say the chess engine. And for board rendering, there is a different JavaScript library which is called chessboard.js, and we can just move pieces, and we can only move pieces with valid moves. Like for instance, this would be a valid move. This would also be a valid move, but this will not be a valid move, so it's not possible. So we have achieved that. Now, of course, here, I guess, as we started, I said we want to implement something similar to lichess. And what I would like to do is, of course, we'll kind of like skip this, what we have here on the sidebars. We'll come to that probably later in the application. I guess what I want to focus right now is actually this kind of like grid. So what happens here is that when you click on one of these variants, basically you have this option to be paired with somebody and actually start a game. So I guess that's the first thing that I wanted to look into. Mr. Xo, just wanted to say hi. Where are you from? Vidas. Man, I watch your videos daily. Very good learning material. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate that. Then Jorge. Hello from Mexico. So we have also somebody from Mexico. Like right now we have all the time zones around the world. We have the Americas, we have Australia, we have Europe. So yeah, we basically cover the entire world. That's nice. Okay, so we have here this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 9 different cards. We won't concentrate on this classical and custom. Also, I will not concentrate on getting this kind of like in the background, this this knight. I'm not really a big CSS fan and things like that, so I'll just go on to have the cards. Now, the only thing is here, because we already have here some valuable information that we'll need today. I'm Syrian. Okay. Thank you very much for joining from Syria. The idea is that there are 3 types of games for those of you who are actually not familiar with chess. Actually, all of those are chess. But usually in the chess world, depending on the time control, like how long basically a chess game can last, what's the maximum time that each player has, it kind of like falls into 3 or 4 categories. Now, there are the categories where you have kind of like 1 minute or 2 minutes, which is usually called bullet. It could be also with a time increment. Time increment means that after you have moved, you kind of like receive a time increment. So this 2 + 1 would mean that the time control would be 2 minutes, and on each move, a player will actually get 1 second. So that's kind of like what it means. Now, from 3 minutes until I guess 10 minutes, basically, we call that blitz. Now, blitz, for instance, this one means that's like 5 minutes. Each player gets 5 minutes, and with 0 increment. So it's just those 5 minutes. But for instance, this one is 5 minutes plus 3 seconds increment. So once again, every player gets 5 minutes, but on each move, the player gets also an additional 3 seconds added. Hey there, tune in late from Nairobi, Kenya. Cool, we also have Africa now represented on the stream. Thank you very much for joining. Cool, so that's the whole idea, and that's why we have different, let's say, versions of chess. So we kind of like need to replicate this type of cards in our application. Like for instance here, instead of these chessboards right now, what we'll see is basically in the middle those 9 cards that kind of like represent different time controls. And each time control, of course, represent when we will create a game. Probably we'll have to also create the models for that, what the game means in our application. The time control is part of that, so it's part of the information. Cool. So yeah, let's get maybe started with this one. Let me close this down. Let me also close the server because I don't really need it anymore. Cool. Okay, so I guess that the best way to proceed would be, so in this index, that's basically our you are about to move. No, I don't want to move anything. So Now that's basically our homepage, and here we have rendered this chessboard. I'm not sure though where I have created this component. Where's the chessboard? Here's the counter that we have from the original Blazor template. We have here, yeah, chessboard. Cool. Now, since we are on the home page and it's not really a functionality like those cards that we have there, I guess I'll still create them here in pages. Okay. So let me just think a little bit how we can actually think about this. Like, basically what happens is that we need different cards there. Kind of like the cards are, let's say, the same, but they will have different, let's call them settings. Because one of them would be with, or each will have actually a different time control. And based on the time control, also the name of the variant will be a little bit different. And we need to organize them somehow in a certain grid, let's say 3x3 grid for now, because we'll have 9 cards like that. And yeah, I guess that's how we'll do this. So yeah, here on pages, maybe let me just create a new component. To razor component and create game card. Okay, so this is what we have right now. Probably we'll have here a lot of different type of information. Here we don't need any title, of course. And I guess, if I'm not mistaken, let me go to mod Blazor components, because we should have this idea of cards. So simple card. Actually, what I want is, of course, a simple card, so it's not really complicated. Probably we don't have a link on that card. It's when we click on it, we want something to happen, probably. Joe Rutsky, hello from New York, USA. Thank you very much for joining. Cool, so we have this mod card in mod Blazor, then mod card content, and mod card actions. Okay, but probably we will not have an action on the card itself, but we'll see. And outlined. What's the difference with this one? Outlined equals true. Okay, then we have a header for the card. Kind of like this doesn't, we just want a really simple card. Kind of like just need the content. Here we can have also media, but we don't need that. Combined, pretty cool cards here that you can create. Okay, so I guess what we'll need here is more or less this mod card. This card will have a content. And if we have actions, then we have card action. Cool. So yeah, that's what we actually want to do. Let's maybe start with this one. And we'll see slowly exactly what else or what information do we still need. So let me start with mod card. Now, from the previous time, we have kind of like, there is one thing that I want to achieve is, for instance, when we actually, this is a regular card, but when we hovered with the mouse on it, I want actually to kind of like, elevate it a little bit. And I want also the mouse to change to a pointer, like it would be, for instance, like if it was a URL or something like that. So what we can do here is on the card itself, I guess we can put in some classes, because it's M1. So this is something that's kind of like from the documentation of CSS of Mod Blazor. And then cursor pointer. Okay, and there is for the card another property, as we have seen, elevation. And for instance, we can say here elevation, I want it to be 1. And actually what I would like to do here, we also need kind of like, and that's what I'm thinking now, we need a way, depending on where exactly we render those cards, I want them to kind of like have probably a different height and a different width. So let me, we can add some custom styles here. It's this, it's style, the style class that we have in Mod Blazor. And here probably what we'll add, and here we'll see how we kind of like work with Blazor components. We'll add basically in the code here behind, probably a string that would contain the width and the height, and that would be passed in as a parameter to our components where the component is used, probably by the index page right now. And then there are also two other things that I want to happen with my card. First of all, I want an event on click. It would be this one. And this will have something that's called card clicked. Right now we don't have it, of course, so we get an error for that. And there is another event. So as I said, I want with this card that when I hover the mouse on it, so when it gets focused, I want it to be elevated so that user sees exactly on which card he or she is right now. So there is this event on focus in, and then on focus out, probably. And what will on focus out? And what we want to do in those events is actually change the elevation. So what we can do here, basically we also need a parameter for this one to actually be able to set basically a new value to this one. Cool. Let me, first of all, I want just to have the basic structure layout of what we actually want to have here. So mod card content, because that's what we have in a card. We don't really care for what exactly we want to, or we don't care for the header or for the actions. But what we'll have here is actually just simple text. Basically, maybe 2 lines. On the first line, the variant, like the time control, and on the second line, we will have the variant name. Like, well, what's the name? It's Blitz. It's Rapid. It's Bullet, and something like that. So now this means that we'll have mod. How was this text? I guess. And in this mod text, we can have here type equals, actually not type, but typo. That's because we want to choose the typography. And let's make it age 5 because we want to be bigger than regular text. Then on text in Mod Blazor, we have a line and we want to align center. Okay. And then what we have in the text itself, there should be kind of like the time control. And the increment. So I guess those should also be probably parameters that we will have here. So let me also maybe start to add those parameters, because that would kind of like be important. So what we'll have here, and let's make them private. Oh no, because since they are parameters, they need to be public. Even though the elevation shouldn't be. Elevation is private. That's information that kind of like we only know in our application or in this component. Should not be kind of like used as a parameter. However, the time control would be public because it would be passed in. Daniele Del Pino, hello. Thank you for joining also today. So, yeah, let's. I don't know. I still need to drink something. Okay, cool. So let's start with what we'll have probably as a parameter here. So as a parameter, what we will have is probably the time control. So we can use this attribute parameter. And since it's a parameter, it needs to be kind of like public. And it would be an int. Something like that. Then the increment. It will also be a parameter, public int. Well, then what we'll also need is the variant, I guess. Something like this. I'm still thinking. Oh, but it should be a string. Let's call it variant. Okay, so we have the time control. Of course, they say they want to be nullable. Okay, let's make that nullable. Okay. Then for the styles that we kind of like need to specify here, we'll need a string that creates basically a CSS. So some CSS properties for width or height. So even though I don't think maybe we should get the entire style as a parameter, we just need to get the width and the height as a parameter. Actually, just the width, because the card will kind of like self-arrange itself afterwards. So as a parameter, we just get the width, which can be in pixel, can be whatever CSS is. So public string width. Okay. Now what we'll create ourselves in the component based on the width that we actually get. Let's make it something like that. First of all, and based on that, we'll have private string styles. That's something that we will calculate here. That's not something that the consumers will provide as a parameter. Styles get set. Okay, cool. What else do we need here as a parameter? Oh, the background color for that. I guess the background color is something that we'll set in our application ourselves. so we will not care really about that. And the elevation, I guess that could also be private. But yeah, maybe. So here, first of all, we have the parameters that should be public. Then we'll have here these private members that we have. Here, int elevation get set, and we'll set this initially to be 1. Okay, and in this case we can replace here with the elevation that we have. Should work. Cool. So now we are okay with that one. Here in styles, we'll have then the styles. And we'll have to also implement those methods. But going back to the card content. So going back to the card content, it's so quiet here, nobody says anything. If anybody has any question or want to discuss a certain topic, please just don't be shy and let me know. Cool. So here for the text, what we would like to display is first of all the time control. Actually, I'm thinking we kind of like need something like a string interpolation or something. But I guess we can still do, for instance, something like that. Time control to string. Okay, and then we'll have a space, then we'll have this plus, and then we'll have this increment. Something like that. And actually we'll have the same type of text, I guess. But in this case, what we will display here is the variant name, which is a string. So it would be variant. Something like that. I guess we could also use it without this @ sign, so I'm not really sure about basically this @ we need when kind of like we'll also have more complicated things like maybe a lambda or something like that. But yeah, let me check the chat. Okay, thank you very much for the subscription. We have a new subscriber. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so we have the variant name. Actually, that's everything that we need on the card. Now we need to also implement the methods that we have there. Nove. Thank you very much for subscribing, Nove. Where are you watching from? Will you be using out? We have already implemented that in the very first stream or the second one. I'm not sure exactly which one, but we already have implemented user registration and login, basically those functionalities. So we already have them. That's a Blazor Server application. We'll probably look into them when we'll run the application again, because when we want to kind of like create a game, so we will need to test with like the user 1 and user 2. So probably we'll need to be authenticated into different in private sessions with 2 different users. So we'll then log in with that, but authentication is already set up. So it's not something that we still need to work now. But where are you watching from? Cool. Now let's go implement the method. private void, because there's nothing that will really happen when we click the card. Basically, what we need to do here, we'll need to do implement game pairing services and so on. I'm really not sure about what how that is. So that's something that we need to do, and then we'll need kind of like to implement those. Actually, we don't really need to implement methods here for the on focus in and on focus out. Jamaica here. Cool, Jamaica. Nice country, never been there. But I've seen pictures, seems to be very beautiful. Maybe I'll get there someday. Cool. So I guess what we want to do here is we just want to kind of like change the elevation. The elevation we already have as a property basically in our own component. So what we need to do is just change the value of that one. And in that case, we can just use a lambda function. And yeah, let's do it something like that. In the lambda function, we can say elevation equals 5. Should work, I guess. And on focus out, we will reset the elevation to 1. Something like that. So this, I would expect that the effect of this is when I hover the mouse on it, it should kind of like, well, be more elevated, like I should visually see that. And when I hover the mouse out of it, then kind of like the elevation will return to the default. And this will allow me as a user to kind of like understand where exactly on which card I am clicking. So it would be something like that. Yeah, and then this card clicked will implement, because we'll have to think about the pairing strategy and the logic. That's kind of like a little bit more complicated. Not sure if we will need to do this with a background service or with SignalR. If we wouldn't have any JavaScript, I would probably think that SignalR would be the best, but that we have JavaScript, and we will rely actually on the interoperability. Oh, hard word. Between Blazor and JavaScript, kind of like, yeah, we'll have to see what would be the best way to proceed. Cool. But now kind of like we have the cards. I guess we have everything that we need in the card right now. So what we can do is go to our index, and we don't want to have the chessboard here anymore. We want kind of like to implement everything. And if you remember from Lichess, maybe we can go back to Lichess. So basically we have 3 different sections. We have this section, which is kind of like one sidebar, is this section and this section. So we will not concentrate here on these 2 sidebars, but only on this one. But I would already like to create the layout for that. So it means that we will still need another kind of like a grid, where we kind of like also, well, have a sidebar that's maybe 3 columns wide, then have this main section with the cards that's 9, and then have another sidebar that's once again 3 columns wide. Because also Mod Blazor kind of like works with most of the bootstrap things. So what we have here is that's from other projects that I worked on. So we have this mod grid, and it's similar to kind of like a Blazor grid. And here, once again, we can specify a class, and it's also from mod Blazor CSS that's kind of like based on Bootstrap and default flex values and things like that. So we'll kind of like create this MT5, and then here we'll have a grid as then items in Mod Blazor. And items, kind of like these are the main columns that we want to have. And these items on the grid, they have this kind of like MD. It's similar to Bootstrap. And here, for instance, I wanted one that is 3. Then I would like another mod item. And this one I want to be MD equals 9. And then I would like another one. Actually, not 9, but 6, I guess. Yeah, because it's 3, 3, and then with 6 it should be 12. So it's similar to Bootstrap, really. Probably it's using Bootstrap behind. So mod item. And here MD would be once again 3. So these two would be the sidebar, and this would be kind of like the main section where we would need to implement our cards, I guess. Okay. Are you using a framework here for the UI on top of Blazor? Yes, and that framework is called Blazor. It's basically a framework for Blazor components that allows us to kind of like very easily work with Blazor components without the need to kind of like style them a lot. Cool. And now what we want to do is, in this mod item, actually I want to have another grid. Here we'll basically have 3 different grids. Or no, we have one grid in which we'll kind of like have that 3 by 3 columns. So it would be mod grid. And then in this mod grid, we'll have to kind of like add those create cards. But what I found out, I'm not sure if that's really good, but I usually kind of like find out it helps a lot to, well, mostly place things in a mod container. So that's why I have this mod container. And what I want to do on the mod container usually also is provide some flex properties so that things are aligned properly. So the way we do this here in mod Blazor is kind of like we have this class, which is the parameter, and here we can say the flex. Then we want to align because all the cards should go to the start, so it should be aligned to the start. Align content. I don't see the start. Yeah, here. So it should be that one. And now basically what we'll have, so for each container and for each item, basically we'll have 3 cards because we want to have each row. So what we'll have here, let me check if there is any new comment here. No, there isn't any new comment. However, thank you all very much for joining. I see that there are some new people here. As I always say, I would highly appreciate if you can just say a hello and let me know where you are watching from. Till now, I found out we have here in the community viewers from virtually all around the world, from Australia to Mexico to Jamaica to Norway to Kenya and Europe. So kind of like, yeah, we are as international as it gets. Cool. Okay, so we have this container and this would be the first row. So in this, we would have the first 3 cards that we would kind of like have there. So let me, in this case, I can just reuse the create game card component that I already had. And actually, I guess I can make them as a self-closing components like that. Then I have to provide values for the parameters. One of them is time control, and the first one is 1 second with 0 increment, and that's actually what is called this actually what is called variant, I guess we call this our parameter. So this would be bullet. Okay, then there is one other thing that we need to provide, which is the width. And the width, since kind of like we are here in this row, and yeah, let's have it like each of the cards would need to kind of like take 30% of their parent, because what we'll have here is actually 3 different cards. Remember, that's one row like this, and then the second will be with 2 minutes. And yeah, let's add here a 1 second increment. Yes, this would be still bullet. 2 to 2. And this should be something like also like that. And then the third one, and that would be maybe, I don't know, 3 minutes. I mean, once we get this right, we can play and create no matter how many cards we want. And 3 minutes with 0 increment. And it's this time it's not bullet anymore, but it's blitz. Let's call that blitz. Okay, so this is actually the first row that we have. Then we need to provide actually the second row. Actually, I think I'm missing here something. Because here we have the grid, and that's the container, and directly everything here. But however, this whole stuff should be actually in a mod item. So yeah, let's add it. That's as per the grid specification of mod Blazor. So it would be something like that. Hahaha. Does Rider have a format all component? I'm not sure what should be the, because that's one I want to format a little bit, but I'm not sure if that's possible. What's the problem with the create game here? I see we have an error. Where do we actually have the error? Let me go here. Problems. I'm missing a semicolon somewhere. Expected after styles. I don't know, something I'm missing here something. Problem is in the stream I don't really see exactly what styles. No, I don't want a constructor here. Not sure exactly what's missing here, but maybe this one. Ah, yeah, okay. So something like that. Okay, so here we need to use this at. Missing the closing. Okay. Close the component, but this component is actually closed. It's closed here. Okay, so we are okay with that. Now, what I was looking to, because I said my memory doesn't really help me. Hello from Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining, Joseph. I'm glad to have you here. Daniele Giovanetti. I still think that this tag is closed correctly here. But probably I was missing something. So yeah, you're probably right, everybody. Cool. So what was I doing? Because we arrived here and we saw this error. We were here on the index. Okay. Yeah, the problem is with this index. Is that I'm not sure exactly how to format this in Rider. I don't know, maybe if I close this and if I open it again. Nope. There should be. Let me with where is there was a search thing here somewhere. Here's search. But that search is compact formats. Don't really understand here. So yeah, that's definitely something that I would need to kind of like look into. As said, I never kind of like worked with HTML and Blazor and Razor with Rider, so that's kind of like a little bit new to me. But there should be a way to kind of like format. Come on, Rider, you can do that. Copy and paste. Folding. Expand, collapse. No, that's not really expanding or things like this. I missed the previous live coding part 3. Please, how can we access them? Yeah, the recordings of the streams are available for CodeWrinkles members only. So the way to access it is kind of like to join the membership on this channel, and then you would kind of like have a playlist where you will find all the past live streams. Okay, so inspect, big definition, generate, open in. I don't want to open it anywhere. I just want to format that. Don't I really? Doesn't. Copy, paste, delete, find, select all. Indent. It just indented the entire selection. Okay, that's not something that we wanted. Totem. Oh, I really don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll have to kind of like live with this for now, and I'll check afterwards to see exactly how can I reformat. So cool. Then we have this grid. Inside the grid we have this mod item, and inside the item we have a container, and in the container we have all the cards that we need. Cool. And this is actually the grid, and this is the mod item for the first row, and I guess we need to replicate something very similar to this as the second row of the grid. Now it actually did format it. Okay, cool. So I just lost 5 minutes for nothing. That's nice. What can I say? That's actually nice. Cool. Now let's see. Here we'll have let's say the time control, that would be 3 minutes, and let's make it with 2 seconds increment, and that would also be a blitz. And then let's have 5 minutes with 0 increments. 5 minutes with 0 increment, so that's also a blitz. Then let's have 5 minutes and 3 seconds increment, which I think is the most popular time control on lichess. And it's also blitz. That's kind of cool. And then the same thing that we have here. And here for the last row that we have, let's go maybe to the rapid time controls. So let's have 10 with 0, 10 with 5, 10 with 0. And that's already called rapid as a variant. Then let's have here 10 with 5. Also rapid. And yeah, maybe 15 with 10. That's, I guess, I'm not sure. I guess different applications consider it differently, but I will still consider it rapid. So 15 with 10. 15 minutes with 10 seconds increment. And yeah, let's call this also rapid. Cool. So I guess we should have all the cars that we need right now. Yeah, maybe add a new role for classical, like the bigger time controls, like 30 minutes with 0 and 30 minutes with something. So I guess we'll have 4 rows in the end. Okay, so the first, it would be 30 minutes with 0 increment. And that's a time control where you have a lot of time. That's usually called classical. Like where you have a lot of time to think. Be 30 minutes with 20 seconds. Okay, and let's remove that. Cool. So I guess okay, so you can try Control plus E or D to format the document. Also, menu item is under Edit Advanced Format Document. Thank you very much. I will check that. I will check that afterwards. Cool. And now I think what we can do is, if we don't have any errors, we can run this and check exactly if everything's okay. No, it will not be okay. Let me just stop it when I can. Because we don't actually set the styles. We need to, well, write some logic in the uninitialized async or in the uninitialized method. Because otherwise, kind of like, we will have some strings that will be null. And we'll probably get some errors for that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So I'd expect to see some errors here. Because some things will be null. Like for the styles. For the styles, things will be null. Okay. Doesn't really look how I would have expected. But that's probably because of the styles, actually, that's missing. That's kind of like a default. And you see that also the elevation is not working. Not sure why it's not working, the elevation. Kind of like we'll have to debug that at a certain point. But at least the cursor pointer is kind of like working. Yeah, cool. Let's just close that. Come back to our rider. And also let's close this process here and go back to this. Create game card. So what we need to do here is also override this uninitialized. Protected override void on initialized. Should be something like that. And here basically we need also to set a background and also set the width because we kind of like don't do this for now. So what we'll do here is we'll create a string builder equals new string builder, because we'll need to create a string that kind of like adheres to, well, CSS properties. So what we can do here is say append, and what we can append here is first of all let's give it a background color, and let's have the color, I don't know, maybe dim gray. Remember, that should be something like that. Then sp.append And then here probably we'll also need the string interpolation. Oh, not like that. Oh, like that. And what we need is the width. And that would be equal to the width that we get as a parameter. So that's one thing that kind of like on focus in elevation, and the elevation we set it here to 1. But then we have also to say styles equals sp to string, like that. So now this won't be null anymore. Now the only thing is with the elevation. Why was that elevation not working? Because so on focus in, and it should kind of like execute this one, and it would set it to 5, and then it should execute this one, and it would set it to 1. Let's kind of like run it again, because I can't really. Okay. Let's see. In the meantime, does anybody know a good joke? Not sure exactly what's happening here. Something is not right here. Let me check. Do we have some errors in the console? No, we don't have any errors. The problem is that the CSS is actually not applied. Or I can't really say anything. Cool. Yeah, let me just stop this and let's debug. Let's see what happens here. So let's run that again. Okay. Oh, why is that? It's just starting a little bit slower. So the browser started, but the application itself didn't really start. That was the problem here. So let me refresh. I really don't. Okay, probably it actually got here into this breakpoint. Cool. So let's say what we have in here in width. It's 30%. I guess it should be valid. Shouldn't it be valid? I guess the problem is we are missing the semicolons between them. So I guess that's the main problem here. Because if we go one step further and we look into the styles, we have background, dim gray, and width. Yeah, that's exactly what the problem is. So let me, yeah, I never know exactly how the hot reload works here. Probably I would have to wrap my mind around that also. So it would be something like that. And now hopefully we'll have an appropriate string. Maybe you need to state has changed. Kind of like no, because I'm not changing the state here. It's basically I'm setting the state when the component is initialized. Boyan, hello there. Thank you very much for also joining here. Let me check here what happens. Okay. So this time it's still a bit weird. And kind of like the elevation is stuff is not running or is not working correctly. And here I don't okay, so here the width is 30%. But I mean, this kind of like looks fairly okay, but then the others, I mean, not okay at all. I think we kind of like need a little bit more, to be a little bit more precise with the card itself. Yeah, I told you I'm not good at CSS and stuff like that. Let me just take a look again. So what do we have here? I guess here everything should be okay what we have. Now the only thing that I don't understand is why the elevation is not working. Maybe that should be public. I don't know. Could be a problem. But theoretically, it's in the same class, so it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, let's eliminate everything. And you know what? What I will do here is, I will create another method here. Private void change elevation int new value, and here I will set elevation equals new value. The reason why I want to do this is because here I can then place a breakpoint and just check if actually the execution enters this method. So what I will do here is I will just call, still need to add a lambda because I'll have to call the method, but in lot of setting the elevation, change elevation, and here I'll place 5, and here I'll have change elevation with 1. Something like that. Okay. Then I can have a breakpoint here and understand exactly what happens. Also, since we are here, let's go in the index once again and try to understand what actually happens here with those cards. So we have this mud grid. So we have this mud item, and we say that for the like for middle it should be like for the display, like the middle, from middle upwards, basically, or from medium upwards to be more precise. So this should take 3 and this should take 6. So we have this mud item that kind of like takes 6. See you, enjoy, thank you very much. Rewards, I got busy with the kids, couldn't get earlier. Okay. Well, right, I don't have kids, so I don't have this problem right now. But yeah, so I can live stream. Cool, thank you very much for joining also, Boyan. And by the way, also you see that Boyan and Daniele, when they comment, kind of like they have that Code Wrinkles badge right after their name, and it's because they are Code Wrinkles members. Like they have joined our membership program. Cool. So let me just check once again. What do we have here? So we have this once again, the grid. Then we have the item, and here we have this item with 6, which should kind of like be 2/3 of what it needs to, well, of the entire display. But then we have this other grid. You know what? Let's maybe try this out. Now let's say that from small XX, like I'm not sure exactly how this XS, like extra small screen upwards, I want to make sure that each of these menu items are, where is it, XS? They take basically 12 columns, so like the entire row. So I guess that could potentially solve this problem, and also this one. Not like this, but like this. XS equals 12. Okay. Cool. So yeah, let's run it again, and let's go actually back to the other one, because here we have this breakpoint. I want to check what's the problem with the elevation actually. So yeah, let's just debug it. This is Bootstrap. No, it's Blazor, which is a library for Blazor components. But it works with similar concepts like Bootstrap. Probably behind the scenes it is using Bootstrap, so I would imagine. That's why you see it's very similar. Aha! Now it looks much better. However, the focus in is not working. Did I run this in debug? Because I'm not hitting this one. On focus in and on focus out. The focus in event fires when an element is about to receive focus. The main difference between this event and focus is that focus in bubbles while focus does not. The opposite is focus out. Okay. And here, why don't I actually hit a breakpoint? So when I get with the mouse on it, I would expect to hit the breakpoint. Strange. Let me run this again, because I'm not sure if I clicked on run on debug, and that's kind of like make a difference. So yeah, I started this. Let's debug, and right now I'm sure that I hit on debug. Maybe I did also earlier, but I was not sure about that. Cool. And by the way, you see that some of the members have a different colored badge, which means that they are, well, already members for a longer time. Yeah, let me bring this here. Let me just close that. And I just want to take a look on the window here to check if everything is okay with the stream. But it actually seems to be okay. And if there's anybody here that is not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. And also hit the notification bell so that you are always notified when we have new stuff here. Because, for example, tomorrow morning, a new video will be published. It's already done. It's on domain-driven design. And I guess it will be fairly interesting. Okay. If focus is working same as WPF, then we'll hit if when you actually focus it, and you might want to use on mouse over or something like that. Okay, Boyan, that kind of like makes sense. It's still not working, so yeah. Let's stop it, and so it's good that you have some experience with WPF. Let's see here. On mouse over and on mouse move. No, mouse out. Come on, where's the IntelliSense? I guess it was on mouse out. Yes. This mouse out event is fired at an element when a pointing device, usually a mouse, is used to move the cursor so that it is no longer contained within the element. Okay, should be what we need. Okay, app when a pointing device, okay, is used to move the cursor onto the element. Okay, so that could work. Let's see. So yeah, let's run it again. You already ran this, Daniel. I know that you're writing along. Yeah, actually, the thing is that I don't see it working. Is the elevation changed? Ah, because I hit the breakpoint. So let's try this again. Aha, it works, I guess. But I guess what I want to do here is set the elevation to a higher. But it kind of like already looks nice, so I'm quite happy with that. Yep. Let me try to actually change this. And yeah, let's maybe double the elevation here. Apply changes. The sources are modified. Change will be applied on next step or resume. Okay. Apply changes. Let's go back to the browser. Let's maybe hit a refresh. Not sure, but it kind of like seems the same. Like I want the effect to be way bigger than that. I don't know, maybe the change was not applied correctly. Let's just stop the application and let me, I don't know, let's make it 20. I don't know. You know that I really have problems with my eyes. I don't see very well. So when I hover the mouse on it, I really want to see the elevation. It's working, but can't see well in dark mode. Okay. No, I was seeing that it was working, but I kind of like want the elevation to stand out a little bit more. So I don't know. I just thought about increasing it more. So yeah, let's run it again. But still, the good thing is that it works. And yeah, I guess that we need to, let me run this again. So it loads. Uh-huh. Yeah, now actually I can see it. It's way better right now. Cool. So you know that, so you see we just used Mount Blazor without any JavaScript here, and yeah, we got some nice behavior here. So I'm quite happy, to be honest, with the result. Yeah, of course, it could look better than that, I fully agree, but it's, well, as close as I could come out with, well, something like that. So yeah, cool. That's kind of nice. So this means that we will need to kind of like go one step further and start to think in terms of what we actually want to do next. And this is actually what we need to do when kind of like we had this card clicked. Like, okay, I want to be paired. It means that I need some services that kind of like would, I don't know, maybe look for some other users with which I could be paired up against. And yeah, it also needs to set up a game, and that in a one way or the other, both users are connected basically to the same game. So yeah, that's a nice thing that we will have to do, and we'll do this today. So we will start to work on this today. Probably will not finish it, but we'll definitely start. However, I would like to go for a short, something like 5 or 7 minutes break. And then I will be back and we'll start implementing this entire logic of well, creating a game. And the first thing that we need to do probably is kind of like, well, we need to model the game basically as a class first of all, because kind of like it needs to hold information about the players, about, I don't know, maybe moves or something like that. So we need to create a game itself that has a time control, that has an increment and things like that. And then we need kind of like to, well, pair pairs together, and then both of them should be redirected to their game, and they should see the board, and then white should be able to move only the white pieces when it is his or her turn, and black should be able to move only his or her pieces when it is his or her turn. So that's kind of like the functionality that we need to implement. Probably that will be a little bit complex, so for sure we will not finish this today, but we'll get started with that, and probably we'll implement the more complex stuff maybe next time out. So I will be back once again in 5 to 7 minutes, and we'll continue to kind of like implement the functionality that that's still missing here. So please hold on, maybe grab something to drink, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back here. Where exactly? But I see that there are still some people watching here. However, I see that comments kind of like don't really refresh the way that I would like them to refresh. So here I see that there was some discussion. Code wrinkles. Please, can you put this live coding where I can be able to rewatch them? Today is my first day joining, and I need to follow along. Thank you. Okay. And then Boyan, you might want to the membership. Yeah. Yeah. I know that that's kind of like a discussion that probably we need to have. So memberships are, from my point of view, very important, and I would also tell you why. And basically, that's a discussion that I really had with the Code Wrinkles members on our Discord server just the past week, and we have kind of like decided on some way to go forward. The idea is that during the month of December, especially the last 2 weeks of December, I have given a lot of thought about okay, how I want to go forward with this channel, and asking myself, okay, what does this channel bring different, or how is this channel different in comparison to other channels that are kind of like similar and that create similar content. And one of the key points basically that that I think is a key differentiator, also looking into the different feedback that I got both on comments for the videos, but also kind of like, well, working with people at work, at outside work. And usually, or I came to the conclusion that people perceive me as a mentor. So kind of like I wanted to make this a trademark of this Code Wrinkles channel. So I don't really want just to create, well, videos, content that you can follow. I really just want to set up a community that in which we can actually grow together. And in which kind of like I can mentor you, and in which we can basically mentor each other, because that's also a very important thing. And by the way, since Boyan is here, I just want to give him a shout out, because Boyan is really very invested and very active in the community. He's actively helping out other members, joining with them on calls, looking into code, and that's kind of like what I want to have there. So the idea is that what we do basically with the Code Wrinkles members, we also work on, well, let's call them Code Wrinkles internal projects. For now, we are kickstarting the work on a library for .NET Core that I think has the potential to be a very nice and interesting library that might potentially be used by a lot of developers. So we will start to work on that, and basically we organize ourselves like, well, real development teams. Will I have already set up basically also the repository, the branching strategies for that project, and kind of like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Kind of like I want to build a community. I want to mentor people, and that other people in the community mentor also the others. And yeah, this cannot really work without this idea of memberships. And yeah, that's why I think memberships are important. So I, well, strongly encourage anybody to join the channel memberships, and yeah, we'll actually do some very, very nice things together. But if you want to support this channel, also the very first and most important thing that you can do is kind of like spread the word about this channel, about the content that we have, about what we're doing here. So that would be really appreciated. And of course, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And yeah, then the second way to support this channel and live stream would be to, yeah, join the memberships. That would be also very, very awesome. And then a third way, if you want to support maybe just this live stream, you can kind of like make donations. There is this super thanks or super stickers button right below the comment box, and you can use that. Now, and if you ask why I kind of like do this type of mentoring with members only, well, because this really, well, takes a lot of my time. And as most of you know that follow me for a longer time, I'm kind of like a full-time employed. So I'm doing everything here as a side project. And yeah, it kind of like it's time consuming. For instance, today I woke up at 4:30 in the morning, be able to kind of like finalize the video that I want to publish tomorrow morning. And yeah, usually my working day starts at 7 and ends at 10, 11, or 12 o'clock. Because after work, I kind of like take care of the channel. Cool. Now, let's go back to what we actually have here. So, we need to start implement this idea of yeah, having a game, and I guess we should start from our models. Like we have this model for the chess player, the first name, last name, description, and yeah, everything around that. But then let me try to do something here. Can anybody please write a comment in the chat right now? I think there are some problems with the stream. Can you still let me know if you can still hear and see what I'm doing here? We are and hear you well. Okay, thank you very much. Stream is fine. Okay, thank you very much for... Thank you very much for confirming this, actually. Yeah, because there are some problems here with some things that are not refreshing correctly, and I was not sure about that. Cool, yeah. Okay, so we have this idea of chess player, but what we also need to kind of like include here is this idea of a game. Now, what is a game? Because games at the end will also need to be kind of like persisted in the database. So let's go to our, let's hope, are we correct? Yeah, we are in the domain, so models. And yeah, let's create a new class here and let's call this, I don't know, maybe just game. Do not forget that we are kind of like in a chess application. Let's name this class a chess game. Okay, probably we'll have plenty of, like if we have a lot of users that are playing chess on this application, we'll have probably an exponential growth of games, let's say. So therefore, I guess I'll use GUID as the identifier for that. Now, there is one thing that usually happens with chess games is that when a chess game is ready, usually you export kind of like a certain string format of the game, which is called a PGN. And that kind of like is useful if you want to import that game in different chess UIs to kind of like analyze the game and so on and so forth. And as far as I recall, the chess.js library, it already has support or a function that's kind of like if you give it a game, it will kind of like return the PGN of that. So that would be, however, nullable because yeah, it could be that you have a game without a PGN, so that's also possible, of course. But I really have to do something here with this comments because I don't really see the comment feed anymore, the same that I used to. And yeah, let me try to refactor things a little bit here. Okay. I see actually Boyan was saying loud and clear, and thanks for the shout out. I appreciate, and of course I enjoy greatly communicating with fellow developers. Yeah. And actually, I think, or the good thing about is that the fact that Boyan is so invested and committed to the community, and and he does a lot of things there. Kind of like the thing is that through this he also learns a lot, and that's kind of like a very good way to kind of like become better, and maybe let's say systemize all the knowledge that you already have, but also gain probably new knowledge, because that's you gain experience and knowledge, and you become a better developer by, well, simply developing, simply solving challenges, simply going to different stuff. So yeah, that's really a great learning opportunity, I guess, also for you, but also for others, of course, that you help. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's guess the comment feed right now is better, but I still have now the only thing in the game is we will need to kind of like know exactly who was the white player and who was the black player. And here I really won't care so much about DDD concepts, even if I do a lot of videos on DDD recently. I just want to have things working. So what I'll have here is but it would be a GUID. Or let me check, because I don't recall exactly the player, what type of ID it has. It's an int, because we need int white player ID, but let's call it white chess player ID, because it's how it's called here, chess player ID. And with the white suffix, hopefully Entity Framework Core, when we'll implement, and we'll be kind of like able to deduct that we are referring, this should be a foreign key, and public, and that would be chess player, and we'll call this white player. And we'll need exactly the same thing for the black player, public int black chess player ID. Let me white chess player, and then black chess player. What's wrong with that? Because that's okay. This could be nullable. Okay, let's kind of like make it like that, and then we'll have public chess player, black chess player, something like that. Also, let's make it nullable. So right now we have a game. It has an ID that has a white player and that has a black player. Now for a game, I think one of the other important things to know about is if well, who actually won the game or something like that. Okay, Boyan, I see. Would Entity Framework make any difference if you mark chess player with virtual? Actually, no. Virtual doesn't really have anything to do with that. Virtual is just kind of like if you, well, if you can override it or not. But that, as far as I know, that really doesn't really have any repercussions on how Entity Framework Core works. Like usually when you mark things with virtual, it means that they are overridable. And I know that by default, like the DB set, and if you look into the ASP.NET Core Identity, the DB sets are virtual and a lot of things are virtual, but that really doesn't, well, change the conventions that Entity Framework uses to kind of like create the relationships and things similar to that. And yeah, I want to keep things easy, and hopefully Entity Framework will actually pick up the convention here based on the naming of the properties. But if not, we will configure it. So we will create configurations if it will not work. Cool. Now, so coming back to this idea is what I was saying is that we need to understand, well, the game result. The game should have a result, and the result can, well, be okay. What can it actually be? That's because the game result Could be white win, draw, or the black win. Thing is, could we create an enum here? I guess that should also be nullable, because a game, maybe it's ongoing and then it doesn't really have a result. Yeah, let's create an enum here. Enum chess game result. White win, draw, and the black win. Let's go back to the chess game, and yeah, let's have it public chess game result, and this should be actually nullable, because until we have a result, so the game, while it's ongoing, it will not have a result. Now, the only thing that's also important for a chess game is not only the result, but also the reason of the result. Like reasons, it could be checkmate, but it could be that the time elapsed, because that's why we have time controls. It could be, for instance, like from the chess rules, like threefold repetition. Or it could be for draw, it could be insufficient material. Or it could be a draw by agreement. So yeah, these are just, probably might be also other reasons, but I guess we also need to capture that. So and I guess I'll have another enum for that. Chess game result reason. Although now I'm thinking, should we maybe create something like smart enums? Like instead of having two different enums, like for the chess result and for the result reason, what if we kind of like have a certain, well, class that would kind of like be a game result, and that would have, well, a result and a result reason. Okay. Actually, yeah, let's change that. Let's create a class for that. And then kind of like it would be easier, because in the result it would have everything. Those two kind of like belong together. It doesn't really make sense to have them in different enums. So chess game result. Let me change this one. It would be a class, so it would be not an enum anymore. And what we'll have here, so I'm thinking while I'm writing, so I'm not sure that this is the best approach, but that's usually how I do when I write code. I will just write, make things work, and then kind of like I see how I can improve on that. Let's have some constant strings. String, and for the reasons, white win. You know what I'm also thinking, because usually in chess, when you look at the game result, actually usually it is in this format. So this means that white won. So 1-0. 0-1 means that black won. And then if we have this, it means that it is a draw. So I think that probably for the strings, for the constant strings, is maybe let's have this idea of how this actually is expressed in chess terms. And the way that we display it on the UI will be kind of like a different concern here. Right now, once again, we are in the domain. Okay, so the white win will actually be this string, private const string. And by the way, if you have watched my last video that I have uploaded on Sunday on C# performance traps, or common mistakes that kind of like we do and that can affect the performance of our C# applications. One of the things was explaining kind of like why should we in some cases use constant strings. Kind of like it really makes a huge impact in terms of performance, especially if you compare it to enums and if you call enum to strings. So if you haven't watched that video after the stream, you know what to do. Just watch that video. I think it's a very very nice one, like also with some visual exact representations of the pattern that we are using or that are used common, and then also showing you exactly what actually the problem is there. And then we have black win, so that would be 0-1 like that, and then private constant string, that would be draw. And the string for this one would be maybe without spaces. Like if we haven't used spaces here, I guess we shouldn't also use spaces here. So in this case, we can. In this case, as I said, I'm also thinking while I'm writing things. Okay, so we also need some private strings, private const string, and here constant strings for the reason. And yeah, let's maybe add the comment to kind of like know exactly what we do here. Game result possibilities in chess notation. So how it's usually noted in chess, and then we will have game result reasons. Okay, so the game result reason. So first, I guess it could be the first one is checkmate probably. Cool. Here, that would be kind of like checkmate directly. Then private const string. Another reason would be resignation. One player resigns due to one reason or the other. That's kind of like not important. Private string, and then or I guess we can formulate it. Sounds better in English. Daniel, if you're still there, I don't know what's the better formulation, elapsed time or time elapsed. The idea is that, well, time is over. So yeah, let's see what Daniel will say. Then we have private const string repetition. Okay, that would be another reason. Insufficient material. Okay, and draw by agreement. Something like that. Now, we have these constant strings that we kind of like made private. Now, the only question is, how we actually expose those, if we want to expose those, because if we have an instance, when we create a new instance of a game result, then kind of like that instance needs to have that. So we need some properties there, but kind of like we need to, well, make all the reasons can go in separate class and include them through results, so the reason can be saved and related to a player who caused it. Yeah, I wanted actually to have it initially separated, but then I have thought that kind of like this chess game result, it's something like a value object if we think in terms of domain-driven design. Like it's simply something that, well, it kind of like goes together. Like when you have a game result, you also need to know the reason. Like those two go hand in hand. That's why I was thinking kind of like having them basically in one single class. So we'll have also property public string result. And then string result reason. Now the only thing that we need here, like we need a way right now to kind of like, based on maybe some input from the constructor or maybe a factory method, based on something actually. I guess we still will need to add some enums, because those enums should be kind of like input. I don't want consumer of this game result class to provide me the strings for the result. That's something that's business logic. I want to have it in the class itself. I think that you actually started well with enum. Yeah, but I don't know. The problem is this is the type of enum that we want to convert to a string. Probably very often. This also. And this means that kind of like we are exactly in the third scenario that I was covering in the latest video. So that's why I kind of like went this other route. The idea is that we want to kind of like take advantage of these constant strings so that we are not, well, so that we don't need to call to strings on enum. And also in enums, the problem is when you call to strings, basically you cannot have strings like that. So you would have to do a lot of kind of like reflection and things like this to kind of like take the well, what you have in the enum and make it into a friendly string. I guess I have a very old video on that. Or if not a video, I think a blog post, but it's very old, like, I don't know, maybe 2017 or something like that. But yeah, I still think, well, pragmatically and from a performance perspective, having this constant string is better than having an enum. But I think we'll still need an enum to kind of like get the input from the consumers, so that they will be able to define or set, okay, what type of result do I have and what type of reason do I have. So I guess that's or should we maybe go fully domain driven design and expose methods? No, but no matter how we do it, kind of like somebody needs to provide us as an input what exactly is the state of this one, so that we kind of like can use one of the strings here. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's some food for thought here. Right now I'm thinking about the combination between enum and strings. I think when you start coding game logic, you will figure out the easier way we can go. Yeah, probably. That's for sure. But until I arrive to the game logic, I kind of like need to. You know what? Let's keep things simple. We'll eventually come back to that. But until then, let's go back to enums and we'll see how we can optimize afterwards. Enum. Okay, chess result. And here, of course, we'll have the results. So the results would be white win. Then black win and draw. Let's move this away. White win. Okay, and we will move all this other stuff in a different enum. So yeah, let's keep it simple, and then, as you mentioned, when we're progressing, we'll see how we can optimize that. The simplest way to go here is just use enum right now. Cool. Then it means we'll need another one. Enum chess game result reason, and the chess game result reason. Let's have a notepad here. Sorry. I just want to, well, place everything here to not forget one of the reasons. So the first one is checkmate. The second one is resignation. Okay, cool. The third one is time elapsed. Okay, then repetition. Okay, and then what do we have? Insufficient material. Okay, and then I guess draw by agreement. Okay, so we have this enum. So we can go back to the chess game, and then the chess game will have a public chess game result. Would be nullable. And we'll see exactly how or what we'll do when we'll kind of like want to get the result to string. And then a public chess game result reason. What's the problem with you? Chess game result reason. Okay, probably I have a typo somewhere. So let's go back here. Yeah, I had a typo here in the property because the second letter was O. Let's call it result reason. Okay, cool. So those can be, of course, then nullable. Okay, what else do we need for the game? We will need to know exactly when the date when the game was played. Public date time. That's actually should also be nullable. Date played. That's an information that we would need, and then we'll need kind of like this idea of time control. And for the time control here, I'm fairly sure we need to create actually a class, because time control that actually has also some logic to it. So in this class time control, probably as we'll persist this in the database, public int time control ID. But I don't like this one. Let me also edit and rename. Okay, time control ID. That's it. And I guess time controls are things that can be actually seeded in the database. And by the way, I have made a video on seeding. I don't know, a few weeks back, I guess. Yeah, I guess we could use that technique to actually seed time controls to the database, basically. public, then we will have the int the minutes. So the time control always has the minutes, like how many minutes, and the time control has also an increment. Let me just close this because I don't need it anymore. So public, and that's also int. Right now, yeah, we don't really spend a lot of time to, well, write this class according to all the domain-driven design principles. But for instance, if you have watched this video and still are not 100% sure about, well, entities and value objects and what is, when we should use one and when the other, like time control as a concept is just a value of a minutes and an increment. That's a value object. So if we would implement this with full domain-driven design, that would be a value object. That's a clear example of what a value object actually should be. Now, the only thing is that what we want to have here for this time control, public override to string. We want to override the toString method, and we want to return basically what we have on the cards. So it would be a string, but I would like to use string interpolation here, and minutes and plus, because this idea of time control, that kind of like it has a very specific well, toString. Like when you call a toString on a time control, it should be like that. That should be the format of the string. So, and the increment. So we should be okay with that one. And then I guess there is another, because you see that there is actually this concept of variant, like bullet, blitz, or classical, or rapid. And basically what type of variant the game is kind of like depends basically on the time control. So those two are kind of like set together. So let me maybe create first of all a new variant, or a new enum basically for the variant. To the term models, add. Let's no, what happens here? Add class or interface enum. Okay, how this game variant. And in terms of DDD, this chess game would be of course an aggregate. Cool. And the variant, it could be bullet, it could be blitz, could be rapid, or it could be classical, something like that. Okay, so what we will then need here, and this kind of like similar to what we did, or what I did in that automapper video that became very popular. Kind of like we want from a time control, we want to get the variant directly, because it depends. Actually, the time control should define basically what variant should be returned. So what we'll do here is, in that case, have a static method, public static. It will return a chess game variant. And here get variant from time control. You know what? Actually, this shouldn't be even statics, because if we have a time control, that should be an instance method. And here, actually, let's do some. I usually don't like to do this, but that's kind of like an easy scenario. Return some pattern matching, some new pattern matching scenarios. Like this, minutes, a switch. And here in the switch, we have, so kind of like if minutes is less than or equal to 2, So basically we do a switch on minutes, and we want to check if this one is actually less than or equal to 2. No, if it's less than or equal to 2, then I would like to actually return a variant chess game variant bullet. Then pattern matching once again. If it's less than or equal to 9 minutes, then I would like to return chess game variant blitz. Then if it's actually less than or equal to 15, I would like to return rapid. And if it's kind of like, well, none of these switches or cases apply, then I would like to chess game variant classical. Now, the way this is supposed to work, actually, according to pattern matching, I say I might be wrong because I'm not really a fan and don't really use this every day, but this kind of like seemed very straightforward to implement. So if the minutes is kind of like those switch, it's these are basically the cases, and they will be evaluated in order. So basically, if it is 1 or 2 minutes, it will actually well evaluate this and return bullet. But if it's, for instance, 3, it will evaluate this. It will not return anything because it will be greater than 2. So it will go to the next one. And since 3 is less than 9, then it will return blitz. Now, if we have, for instance, here, like the time control has the minutes like more than 9, like 10, for instance, but it's still less than 15, it will return the rapid. So it means that if I have a value 13, for instance, or even 15, it will evaluate this. It doesn't match, so it will not return. It evaluate this, it will not return. It will evaluate this, and it will return the rapid. Now, if, for instance, we have 16 minutes or more than that, it will evaluate this, it will not return. It will evaluate this, it will not return. It will evaluate this, it will not return. And then this is kind of like the default. So if it's not bullet, if it's not blitz, if it's not rapid, then it's just classical. Yeah, so that's kind of like this idea of this one. Cool. So yeah, that's this use case. And the reason why this is actually important is because if we go back to the chess game right now, what we'll have here, for instance, is public time control. And this, by the way, will not be nullable because a game needs a time control. It cannot really exist without a time control. So yeah, we'll have this time control, but then we'll have this public variant, chess game variant, and let's call it variant, and that would actually be always time control dot get variable from time control, and this one will just exclude from writing in database. This is something that we can calculate. So yeah, it's okay. And the other thing I think that we can have in a game, and that's pretty much all the basic functionality then. So I guess we discussed this maybe in, well, one of the first streams, the idea of ratings. Usually chess players have rating, and whenever you play a game, kind of like depending on the fact that if you lost and or if you drew, if you made a draw, kind of like your chess rating will change. Of course, if you win, your chess rating will probably increase. If you draw, well, it kind of like maybe stay the same, or, well, depending on different criteria, it will kind of like slightly increase or slightly decrease. And if you lose, it will certainly decrease. And that's kind of like, this rating is called an ELO rating. in chess. And elo rating is actually as an algorithm, not only for chess, but I guess right now basically it's well, the only widespread use case. And there's actually an algorithm on how to calculate the elo, and that's something that we will also need to implement at a certain point, like after the game ends. We need to kind of like adjust the elo rating of the player. So that's kind of like also a nice functionality that we'll need to implement at a certain point. So yeah, I guess we are fairly okay with that one. So, but to do this, actually what happens in applications, usually you can either play games that are rated, like where your elo will be adjusted, or if you just want, I don't know, maybe to play for fun, you can play unrated games. We'll have another enum here for the game. Rating type. We'll call this type rated and unrated. And basically, probably when we'll have the service to calculate the elo, if the game was unrated, that we kind of like skip that part. We don't need to calculate the new rating of the players. But if the game is rated, we will need to calculate the new rating of the players, both for the white and for the black player. So if we can go back here to the chess game, then there's the only other thing that we'll need here is public. And once again, when you play a game, already when you create it, you know it should be rated or not rated. So a rating type that will not be nullable. Let's call it rating type. Get set. Cool. I guess so. Yeah. I guess that's pretty much what a chess game model basically would look like in our application right now. I guess I'm fairly happy with that. I have to go. Thank you, Dan. Have a good one, everyone. Good night. Yeah, have a good night, Boyan. Actually, as I arrived at this point, that's what I wanted to also say, because it's already, well, 11:20 p.m. and I guess it would be time to, well, maybe just call it a day for today. And yeah, just I guess we've come pretty far. I actually liked what we achieved today. Once again, for those of you who might not have been from the beginning, we have worked in the first part of the stream, so before the break, to implement the homepage, like this idea with different cards that we have, from which a player can, I don't know, maybe if the player would like to play a 5 minutes game, he should click on that card. And basically when we click on that card, it should search basically for similar players and kind of like pair those two players together to play a chess game. And let's see where the browser window will actually open. Actually, it did open here on the other screen, but I will bring it here, no problem. Not sure why it takes so long. So yeah, you know, you see that basically those here basically corresponds to the things that we have done earlier in modeling the game. So basically the idea is that when I click on this card, I want to kind of like the application to search me for somebody to play a a chess game of a time control of 5 minutes and 3 seconds increment. And yeah, that service should kind of like match up together. So what we have done today is kind of like we have set up all this type of grid and cards. You see that kind of like they also, well, when you hover on them, they actually get also a nice animation. We have implemented that. And then the next thing to do is, okay, we need to implement the idea of pairing two players together. But in order to pair two players together, the first thing that we needed was to kind of like model what actually a chess game is in our application, because we didn't have that. So that's why then in the second part of the stream, we actually did work on creating kind of like this chess game class here that should contain all the different type of information that a chess game needs. So yeah, basically what we have done right now. So next time, this would be next Wednesday, it means that we will go one step further and we'll try to understand what would be the best mechanism to actually pair two players together. One of the first ideas that I have is that we could have a background service, like a hosted service, that will continuously run. And whenever somebody clicks on a card, we just add that player to a dictionary and say, and then the service would continuously look through the dictionary and try to match players together that it finds in that specific dictionary. So that would be one approach. Maybe we can set this somehow up even with SignalR, because we will need SignalR at a later stage. So I kind of like we'll have to look a little bit what would be the best approach to actually go about this. And we'll have to create the component, the Blazor component for the chess game itself. Now that component, it will be a little bit tricky because it will be kind of like the same component but seen by two different people, like for like the white player and the black player, and each player will see it a little bit differently. Because the white player, it will have actually the white pieces, the board orientation will be with the white pieces down, the black player will see it with the black pieces down. And then we'll also have, and that's where we will have to kind of like interoperate with JavaScript and the chess.js and chessboard.js libraries that we have, because when it's my turn as white, then black should not be able to perform any move, and vice versa. And then the other way around, when the black player performs something, that I need to be notified, and that's something that probably could go through SignalR, so that also on my board that I'm seeing in my components, also that piece moves. So yeah, I guess it's lots of things. Now SignalR is something that we'll definitely be using, and to be honest, I never used SignalR in Blazor Server. It's a little bit differently than in regular ASP.NET Core application, but yeah. Let's see, I see here another comment. DZ Pro, where are you watching from, by the way? Like a chat app when two players having a private chat window. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's totally correct. That's totally correct. It's something similar to that. The only problem, or not problem, but the only challenge that we have here is that it's not as simple as that, okay, we just exchange things, but the components will also have to interoperate with JavaScript libraries. So that's why I think it will be a little bit trickier, but we'll definitely find a proper way to actually implement that. Yeah, cool. So this being said, I guess we'll call it a day. Once again, for those of you who are not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. That would be awesome. And yeah, spread the word. If well, at work, with your friends, in your communities, if you know people that might be interested in this type of topics and such live streams, but also the videos, kind of like I have here on the channel 2 videos a week. So yeah, just spread the word. That would be highly appreciated. Cool. Yeah, really, thank you very, very much for watching and tuning in. Thank you very much, Daniel Spindler, for coding along. That's actually nice to know that somebody actually codes along when I kind of like do this live stream. And yeah, I wish you really a good day forward. Like for Daniel, yeah, have a good day because it's still morning, very early morning in Australia. For well, all the others like that are kind of like on European time zones, then well, good night, of course. And for those in the US and Americas, well, have a good afternoon or good evening. Yeah, and we'll catch up once again. We have streams each Wednesday. So we'll catch up next Wednesday. Thank you very much and have a great day. Bye.